So those are both ready. We'll just need somebody just to hit stop.
Yep. Great.
Stay behind the podium. When you get set up.
Okay, the podium's too far up there.
We did. Yeah. Rode that on the well, there's a history.
What are you doing, Greg?
I'm looking for the Zoom. It's right on the top.
Yesterday, last week.
Sort of.
You know how to do this?
It's been a while, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you know more than we do.
Okay.
Both of y'all know more than we do.
Yeah, you kind
We
of.
think it's on,
Yeah.
and we think everything is ready other than
Yeah.
press stop at the end.
Yeah.
Well, we should just go into regular service. So I don't know if you have to. Do we usually press stop and you
Yeah.
I think. that you-
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Internet's now on. So whatever you need to do to Yes, I think we're good.
Kick it.
All
Come
right,
on,
we are
yes.
going to be in 2 Corinthians again today.
Okay, I'm
So if you would go ahead and turn to
You got it?
to 2
One of y'all got
Corinthians.
it? Yes, one of y'all needs to get it. You got it.
All right, just want to double check we're good. Yeah.
Sure.
You're missing Kyle today, so this is great for us to get all the electronics up working. So, before we get started, Nick, do you mind giving us a word of prayer before we get started? Aaron, I think it's one Okay, we are in 2 Corinthians 10. That's what we do tonight. So 2 Corinthians 10. Before we jump into today, let's recap how we got here. I hope it'll upset us. So open for anybody. How does the book of 2 Corinthians start? How does the book start? What is Paul saying? What's that? Good, yeah. So there's this. He jumps into it, and it seems like there's this dueling themes kind of right off the bat, where there have been lots of accusations against Paul in his message, and so to start, Paul starts to defend it, but his message brings so much joy. Okay, right? So that's chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here that while Paul looks to defend himself, it makes him so happy, the message and the Corinthians do, that he can control it. There's he calls it a treasure, what's available through Jesus' death for the Christians today makes him so happy. There's this treasure that we have, and then at the end of that, he starts to get back into his defense. He talks about Titus coming, and so there's this talk about the gift that Titus is going to be bringing back and forth. And now here in chapter 10, we're back fully into Paul's defense of himself and his message. Okay, all right. So let's read 2 Corinthians chapter 10 together. I, Paul, myself entreat you, by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, I who am humble when face to face with you, but bold to you when I am away. Just know that there may be a little bit of sarcasm here. Well, it sounds like this is an accusation. So, I who am humble when face to face with you, but bold towards you when I'm away, I beg of you that when I am present, I may not have to show boldness with such confidence as I count on showing it some who suspect us of walking according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. Look at what is before your eyes. If anyone is confident that he is Christ, let him remind himself that just as he is Christ, so also are we. For even if I boast a little too much of our authority, which the Lord gave for building you up, and not for destroying you, I will not be ashamed. I do not want to appear to be frightening you with my letters. For they say, his letters are weighty and strong, but his bodily presence is weak, and his speech of no account. Let such a person understand that what we say by letter, when absent, we do when present. Not that we dare to classify or compare ourselves with some of those who are committing themselves, but when they measure themselves by one another and compare themselves with one another, they are without understanding. But we will not boast beyond limits, but will boast only with regard to the area of influence God assigned to us to reach even to you. For we are not overextending ourselves, as though we did not reach you, for we were the first to come all the way to you with the gospel of Christ. We do not boast beyond limit in the labors of others, but our hope is that as your faith increases, our area of influence among you may be greatly enlarged, so that we may preach the gospel in lands beyond you, without boasting of work already done in other areas of influence. Let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. For it is not the one who commends himself who is approved, but the one whom the Lord commends. All right. So, reading this chapter, all told, we are really going to dive into the second half of this chapter. But what stands out to you, just overall themes from this whole chapter to start out with? Right? You can tell right away that he doesn't like doing this, but it's something that has to be done. Yeah, we see that a lot here. What else?
I think the ultimate scene having very fond of Mars is that we made it to anything so much.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's definitely some selective choosing of what to focus on here. Absolutely. What else? That's right, and that is rooted in Old Testament teaching. We will get there towards the end of it, but that seems to be one of the core themes for this that Paul builds off of for here to set up what the focus actually should be. All right, what else? Isn't it interesting how he frames that, right? So he takes this, uses this metaphor to show that a lot of this stuff, it seems kind of silly, right? Maybe he doesn't look at his speeches and all this, and in reality, this is the battle that's being fought, not that. So that's really interesting. Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's I'm feeling optimized here.
Yeah.
You think was here would do roughly things like those.
Yeah. Right.
Is what they need to change the time to say about.
Right. Okay. All right. So the first 6-7 verses here, okay, he kind of uses these attacks and kind of twists that, not twisting that, not a word, but he uses that to build this metaphor and these pictures of what really is going on, and what really Paul and the people with Paul are doing in all of this. So we see this from Paul over and over again, that there may be these personal attacks, but he very quickly uses that as a teaching moment, as a preaching moment, that he's able to then turn this and say, here is the big picture. Don't forget about this. All of these other things seem so silly, in light of what is going on there. So, so then we start back up, and let's see, if somebody could read again, specifically 7 through 12, verses 7 through 12, and we'll start to dive into these. Yeah.
You look at things before you put out of here. If anyone says himself, Jesus Christ, let him get it.
All right, so right away, look at what is before your eyes. We just got talking about what's going on, maybe beyond the scenes. All right, and so finally he says fire. Now let's dive into this, into these attacks. Okay, so what does this mean? What does verse 7 mean? Because it is tough to understand and break down Paul's words at times. Okay, Peter tells us that too, right? And so it can be tough. So what does verse 7 mean? What is another way of saying verse 7? Good, yeah. Yeah.
I think he's making it clear. First, you're looking at the surface of things. That's his first statement. You look at the outward appearance, and we know God lives in the heart. But then he also says, would you consider us not Christian? That's where you're really, you think I'm not a Christian? And that is a way to build the argument strong. Because he's the one who established it, so he's not a Christian, and you're not.
So, yeah. That's, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to be. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that.
This is this concept that there are warring factions here is crazy. That's the fault. Like, if somebody else is coming, like we all are, we're all together, we're on the team, which then gets to, it's not always just so cut and dry, right? It's not going to be always that when people come to talk about God's word, everybody's going to see exactly the same, and that everybody is going to, it's going to be perfect. Okay, so the key thing for today that I want us to take out from this is how can we use this today? All right, because this book wasn't just given to us for us to say, oh, yep, Paul's in trouble, he defend himself, right? That wasn't it, right? That wasn't the only thing. Okay, we still have this so that it can help us work through situations like this today. Right? Because it still happens, right? Okay, and I think we've all seen this in churches throughout our history that there are unfortunate splits, there are accusations, there are so let's use this to build off of what we can use today. So the first principle from Paul here is we're on the same team. Okay? We need to be on the same team first. All right? Okay, so then so for verse 8, what does verse 8 mean? Now we're getting into some twisting of accusations here. So, yes.
It's not about wrong, but we're all on the same team.
Good. Perfect.
Good. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, verse 8. For even if I boast a little too much of our authority, which the Lord gave for building you up and not for destroying you, I will not be ashamed. Okay, what's happening here?
It's almost a humble brag. So to speak. He's trying to politely and softly say, I have this authority. Christ gave this authority, you should listen to me. Without coming out and saying, I'm the boss and you should listen to me.
Yeah.
I'm the parent because I said so.
Yeah. This seems to be a direct attack, right? That he's holding this over. He's holding his own. He says, actually, God, how do I do this?
I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you say,
Are you involved in it? He says, yes, I am.
I mean,
you're
yeah,
not ashamed of it.
and that's right. Yeah, 'cause he's been given it directly by God.
And Paul getting temple because he knows that authority comes from his grace.
Good.
And given him, knows it pretty well who he was and what he did.
Absolutely, yeah. That's really good.
And there are people that are mocking him are basically lesser versions of what he himself was.
Yes, yes, good, good. Hold on to that thought. We're gonna come back to that, as well. All right, so now now verses 9 and 10, and 11, okay? So I do not want to appear to be frightening you with my letters, but I say his letters are weighty and strong, his bodily presence is weak, and his speech of no account. But such a person understand that what we say by letter when absent, we do when present. Right? Well, what is this group of verses here? Head on. Yep. Yep, seems very much to be an attack, that, well, he'll, when he's not here, he'll attack you, like, he'll come on, he's mean, he's all this, but when he gets to the verses, he doesn't really mean this, right? He doesn't really stand on this, he's not gonna actually stand up and say these things to your face, right? Also, absolutely not. What's that?
Wait and see.
But yeah, there is a piece of that too, you can feel here. Okay, so then verse 12, not that we dare to classify or compare ourselves with some of those who are commending themselves, but when they measure themselves by one another, compare themselves by one another, they are without understanding. Okay. So building off what we've gotten to here, how does this verse fit in? Good, yep. So it definitely feels like Paul is getting to, he's already kind of a couple times said, here's the bigger picture. It seems like maybe he's saying here, you want to know what's really going on behind a lot of these accusations is what we're seeing here. Yeah.
You get back to the first Corinthians 3:6. Some say, I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos, I'm of Cephas, I'm of Christ. So they're already, the nature of the Corinthians is to look for people that they follow and latch on to, and act like that voice is better than the other voices. They're saying the same thing, or in this case, they're not saying the same thing. These are the enemies coming in, trying to get the same traction that Paul got when he started, but use it to go in a different direction than Paul would go.
It seems here that there is some sort of a, by the people that are attacking him, that by comparing themselves to Paul and others and making themselves out to be better, is part of what's going on in some of this, and under the guise of Christianity, right? Who teaches about this and to stay away from this, right? Who else? Where does Paul potentially get this principle from? Who directly says to watch out for religious folks looking to make themselves look better? Correct. Okay, Matthew 6, Sermon on the Mount, several times, a couple different things. Giving, praying, things like that, that say, hey, watch out for this, because we can drift into making ourselves look good from this, and if that's all that you're looking for, that's all you're going to do. Yeah. So, yeah.
Chapter 7, beware of false teachers that come to you in sheep's clothing. Also, you'll know them by their fruits. Paul uses, I'm sure, that same teaching to understand how to deal with those who.
Yes. And so part of this, so going back to how do we use this today, it should not be impossible for us to see if this is happening. If we see these in conflicts and we see people that are taking direct attacks on other people, that compare themselves and make themselves out to look, this should be a red flag for us when we see these types of conflicts today. Yes.
That also, I did a study where the predominant word seemed to be,
Yeah.
mobile, we're just listening to each other and feeding on each other, building on each other, and we can go back and do God, that trigger on that country off.
Good, great point, because we definitely see that Paul is using God's words throughout the history to make his cases. Let's get right into that, okay? So if somebody could read now verses 13 through 18, the rest of the chapter. 13 through 18.
We, however, will not boast beyond measure, but we have a limit in spirit, which God appointed. A fear which is expected to be. We're not overexceeding ourselves, to go our way. It wants to use it, and we do not overcome. Not boast, but think beyond measure, that is in other things. But having hope, that as you wait to you, you shall be waiting for the saving of your spirit. Preach the gospel of the you love, not and not boast in other things.
What stands out to me now in this group of verses, more context here.
Interesting that, all these things. To get it, it's helpful to get perspective that the world doesn't revolve around me and my whole situation. And Paul says, you're a portion of that larger thing. The thing, yes, and puts my little squabbles in perspective, and that real reality is much bigger than you think at all.
Yeah, correct. So, so let's build on that here. What's Paul trying to say in that portion here? What's he trying to push for here?
He didn't come comparing himself with others to keep his authority established. He came preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, with the authority over all, and saying, I'm going to follow him, and here's what he told me to tell you. And that's a huge claim. To be able to say, Jesus told me to tell you this, is a claim that these guys can't make.
Good.
He does make. And he said, I brought the gospel to you, and I'm not going to go beyond what I have experienced. They are, in other words, they're way off track.
Yeah. So that is definitely the foundation there for Paul being able to make these claims, right? That is the start there. So he said that leads him right into, we came to you first. We were told we came to you this message. But was this the end game for Paul? Yeah. Yeah. So he's hoping, right, that he comes to the Corinthians, and this is blueprint for a lot of his work, right? He comes to them, he worships with them, he trains them, he builds them up, and then he leaves. And then those groups, those churches, then reach out to the area as well, so that their influence is seen in the community, and then all can go on to another place. All right?
Truly entrust the people to God. That's a really great thing about it. He says that to the Ephesian elders in chapter 29. I trust you to the Lord. The word of his grace. So he's willing to go, teach, and trust God with these people. And these folks, the false teachers come in, and they're trying to disrupt that which he has built, and also being concerned about it. But he still goes back to the very main thing. This is the way it works. He calls back to the very foundation that he started on. And he said, hey, you're hoping this will just spread. And in fact, the purpose was to go from you, bless you, and make this whole thing go. I'm a seed sower. They were looking at those false teachers coming in and somehow impressed by them while being distracted from the very purpose they were established.
Yeah. If it was always supposed to be that Paul or one of the apostles were supposed to stay in one group forever, how would that? Obviously, we have big problems today, right? So this was always the design, that they would go, which means Well, what does that mean for us today? What does this mean for us today? It gets in the way of doing what the churches are meant to be doing. Right. No.
Be a sending church, not just a receiving church.
A common linguistic tactic is appeal to authority. So, trying to quote someone famous historically or not completely, give yourself up there, give yourself a rate of authority. Oh, the only one he will do that. Only authority he'll do is your God. Beyond that, he'll go to his own